Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Today on the show, I interview a stand-up comedian. Her name is Sarah Donnelly, and she's been performing in France for quite some time, headlining for some big names in the City of Light. We talk about some cultural differences in comedy and what it's like to be a stand-up comedian here. So welcome to the show, Sarah. It's very nice to have you here. As I was telling you earlier, I saw a video of you dancing on Instagram. I was like, I need to interview her. Thank you.
And I want to be clear, I'm not a dancer, but I like to play one in my mind. So thank you.
Of course. No, you got moves. You got moves. The group of you were very cool. I loved it. I think it was like a TikTok challenge or something.
It was. It was the June Bug Challenge that one of my friends organized. And I had so much fun. It's really what I needed. Just need to get outside and dance in front of monuments in Paris. So
yeah,
really
shake
fun.
your booty. I feel like I'm not cool enough for TikTok. I've tried several times now and I just don't know what to do on there. And I would love for someone to tell me what the challenges are because I have no idea.
You just got to, oh my God, I'm obsessed with TikTok. I resisted for so long. I was like, I'm not going to do TikTok. That's for teenagers. And then I got on there and there's just some really fun, funny, interesting content. There's literally there's a TikTok for everyone. So
yeah, there is now. You're like you said, it was like 12-year-olds doing like singing voiceovers before.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot of other things happening.
Oh my God. I love it. There's some really funny stuff.
All right.
Great.
You might bring me back. So let's talk about you, other than your amazing dance moves. I want to jump right into what originally brought you to France. Like, I know you're a comedian, an actress, a writer, but why did you come here?
I mean, I came here for love, like many people do. I had a French boyfriend, and we had been doing long distance from the US to Paris. And I was just kind of at this crossroads of my life. I was setting off on this career path that I did not really want to do. I was doing comedy too. So I was kind of like, well, maybe I should just move to Paris and be with him and figure things out. And so I came.
I like that. I feel like Paris is home to a lot of runaways.
Yes.
Like we just run away.
Runaways, outlaws. I was telling someone, I'm like, I don't even know what you did before you arrived in Paris. And I didn't even care. Like, that's your old life. That person is dead. It's all about who you are now. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's true. We take on new personas here. You know, it could be anybody. It's like moving to Florida. Florida's full of criminals. No one knows where they came from.
It's like moving to Florida. I think the people of Paris are going to be really offended by that. Except probably not, because they probably like Florida.
Yeah, actually, they love Miami. Every time I ask a French person, like, where you want to go in America, they're like, Miami, New York, San Francisco, and somehow Dallas slips in there. I'm not sure how, but yeah, because the show. They still watch the show here. It's fun. So you were doing stand-up comedy in the States, but was that your dream job? Like, how did you start doing that? Why?
Well, I have always loved stand-up comedy, but I don't know. I didn't think that was ever something I could do. I don't know why. I just watched it, really liked it. I grew up in North Carolina. I think there was one comedy club in my town, and I don't know, it was the 90s, and I just saw it was on Comedy Central, and this is a male-dominated field, so there weren't a ton of women doing it. Anyways, and then I moved to DC, and I started working in politics, and I decided, I don't know, I kind of made a New Year's resolution. I was like, I miss performing. I did a lot of theater in high school and growing up, plays, stuff like that. And I love making people laugh. So why don't I just try stand-up? And so I wrote some jokes and went to an open mic, invited a couple friends to like bolster my confidence, who were very kind and laughed at everything, even though they probably shouldn't have. And the rest is history. And I was like, okay, I want to go back. I want to get into this.
It's so interesting because I feel like that happens a lot where we don't feel like we really have the right to do certain jobs. Like, what right do I have to paint a picture? Or what right do I have to do stand-up comedy? Like, we think like these people just have been doing this since they were born or something, and they never learned it at some point.
Yeah.
It's you finally, like, one day you just woke up and you're like, I'm going to try this.
Yep. I was like, I'm just going to go for it. It's New Year. And it was January. Oh my God. I can't remember if it's 2008 or 2009, but I was like, okay, I'm going to try improv comedy. I'm going to try stand up. I'm going to take an improv class. I'm going to go to an open mic and just see what happens.
You kind of touched base on this when you were first chatting about how it was like a male dominated field. I'm curious about when you perform in France. Is it the same thing? Like, is it mostly men doing stand up here?
Yeah, definitely. Both in French and in English. There's more and more women who are doing it, but it's still very male energy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you perform in English and French now. So talk a little bit about that. I mean, you were fluent in French when you moved here, were you?
Not at all. I studied German in high school, which has been completely worthless. I was like, I want to be like the other kids and study French or Spanish, useful languages. I was like, I'll study German. So that's never helped me anywhere. Don't even remember it. So I came here, I had taken like a few French classes. I had a few French classes under my belt. I think I could, identify some food off a menu, but yeah, so it's been a long road. I don't have perfect French. Performing in French was another goal of mine, and it's very interesting. It really comedy is so, about words and timing and all these things. And then to be stripped down to I don't know how to describe it. I felt like stunted almost. Like I felt like my level, like here I am as a comedian in English. And then it's like, but here I am as a comedian in French, because all the tricks and tools that I use when I'm on stage are no longer accessible to me because of the language, because I'm not as obviously as strong. I'm not even close to being as strong. So it was real challenge. I felt like I was doing stand up again for the very first time, except I knew that I was funny and I knew how to, make an audience laugh. So bombing in French and trying to get out of that, like with the language skills that I have, was very hard.
Talk a little bit about the cultural differences about what's funny. I feel like a lot of things that are funny in the American culture might not translate to the French culture. Like what are some differences there about?
Well, I've noticed with French audiences, even when you're performing in English, when we've had comics come from like New York, I feel like Americans were very, I don't want to say we're crude. We're not crude, but like we're more frank, I think, about sex in some ways and putting it out there and these kind of personal stories. And the French audience, sometimes if they feel like it's too vulgar, even if it's not necessarily vulgar, they kind of bristle. Like it's weird. Everyone thinks, I think in France, it's like there's a time and a place for every conversation. They're not necessarily prudish, but they don't like kind of in your face, like let's get down and dirty talking about like sex or like cursing. I don't know, kind of that aggressive New York style I've seen not go down very well here. But that was a couple years ago. And so maybe it's changing, there's tons more comedy on Netflix, but that was kind of my impression. I've always been a bit surprised by that. They don't like it when you go too blue in your set. So,
and what is funny to them? Like, what are some things that are maybe funny here that Americans wouldn't find funny? Like, do you find that as well?
That I don't even know. I don't even really know how to answer that. I guess I could just say, I think, if you have a French audience coming to watch people in English, they do like being made fun of. They love the cultural differences. And I think that's why we have a good little English speaking comedy scene here, is because people talk about the cultural differences. They seeing things through a new light, which have seemed so ordinary and obvious to, a French person that's lived here their whole life. And then you're like, hey guys, this is really weird. Like, why do you have all these medications that go up your butt? Like, we don't do that in America. Like, we just like to take pills. Why is it that every medication here is like comes in like a weird cream or powder? You've got to mix with liquid, something that dissolves, something goes up your butt. There's a spray. No one else is doing all these nasal sprays. Just FYI, you guys are aware? We're not like in every hole they're putting something. It's very
every orifice.
Yes. It's like, what's going on?
Filled with meds. That was very shocking to me too. When I moved there, I was like, what's with the butt stuff, guys?
Yeah.
Like, we're adults. I understand with kids, but like they're still doing
they are. So anyway, and of course, like, you know, if you're French, you're not thinking twice about it. But when someone points it out, you know, they like to have a laugh, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think people kind of like to recognize the differences in cultures. Like you said, from any culture, it's always interesting, even if we are like patriotic or whatever. Americans constantly are laughing at their silly selves.
Yeah, definitely.
What is the most surprising part of doing stand-up in France, or something you didn't expect to happen?
I definitely didn't expect that I would be able to make a career out of it here. I'm piecing together one.
Yeah, that's how careers work.
I'm just like, I didn't think I'd actually be able to make money. And maybe it's different. Hold on. I said make money. Now let's all be clear. You know, I'm not riding around in some fancy car. I don't live in the 16th. I'm not even sure some years I'm hitting the minimum wage. Actually, one year I looked at my earnings and I was like, you mean I could have made more working like a minimum wage job? Okay, cool. Good to know. No, but just being able, I don't know, I came here and I wasn't really thinking about comedy per se. And so the fact that I'm getting to do it, I'm getting to do all these really interesting projects, that's been really surprising, actually. I've gotten to go, I've toured in different countries. I've gotten to open for Gad Elmaleh. I have an Audible series out right now that I'm writing and creating with Paul Taylor, and just all these opportunities. This is always what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be a comedian and a writer, and I'm writing and I'm doing comedy. It maybe just I had a different view in my mind, thinking about, you know, Los Angeles or New York and getting that Comedy Central special. But now, like, that's all changed too. Like, it's not about the Comedy Central special. It's about the Netflix special or the Amazon Prime special. So,
yeah, it can all be on the internet and from anywhere at this point.
So that's pretty cool. I never saw this path happening, even if it was my
in
dream.
Paris.
Yeah.
It's very shocking. And what's the worst part of your job as a comedian?
The worst part of my job, you know, I think people see like, this is probably true for a lot of artists. You know, they only see the end result, the success. They see the glitz and the glamour. They see like, oh, you know, entertainment industry, you've got to do this cool thing, that cool thing. But it is a lot of hard work. There's a lot of boring stuff. There's a lot of complicated business issues. I don't know if it's the worst part. I wouldn't say it's the worst part, but it's also, you know, it's hard. You've got to keep yourself on track. You need to be making time to write. You need to be getting onto the mics. You need to be thinking about your next gigs. It's a lot. Like, I never feel like I have a day off, because shows are usually on weekends. And I think when you work for yourself and you're hustling and you're piecing together your income, there is no day off. Like, there's never any time I'm feeling really relaxed. Honestly, the only time I feel relaxed is in August, because I know everything's closed and I'm not missing anything. So there's kind of like a low level stress at all times of like, what am I doing? What should I be doing? When is this project ending? When's the next project going to line up? I've got this idea. Oh my gosh, I've got this thing coming up. I'm not prepared for that. So that's just, you know, you have to keep yourself on track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's very relatable for me. And I don't think any of my other guests have really talked about that, but I feel the exact same way. It's like low key stressed all the time, but kind of in a good way, because you're excited about what you're doing. So if I was low key stressed because I'm not enjoying it, but that's why we keep going, right? Because we enjoy it and we're excited and we challenge.
Definitely.
But it is annoying to not have like total zen ever. Like you said, like the weekends where you're like, I should be doing this. Why am I reading this fun book? Like, I should be doing something more.
Because you're just thinking about the next projects and what you have to do. And like, okay, this project's ending. And do I want to do this? Like, I always have a million ideas in my head. And it's just a constant sometimes it is really stressful. And sometimes it's, happy stress. Oh, I see a puppy. Hi, puppy.
Oh, that's Coco. He's my assistant director, you know.
Well, I'm glad he showed his face. See, this is what happens when we get the camera turned on. I get to see dogs. I love it.
I was talking to Sarah before the recording because normally I don't have the camera on for recordings, guys, but Sarah was demanding it and we made it happen.
Don't you think it's better? I think it's better. I can see your face.
I like it. You're right. We've been behind screens for too long. So let's talk a little bit about your creative process. So you're getting ready for a show. Talk about like what are some of the steps you take to prepare? How do you come up with jokes? I know your jokes are a lot of times based on your family and raising French kids, and talk a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh, the creative process. I don't know. I find it hard to talk about my process. It feels kind of chaotic. For example, if I'm going to a show, I typically, the time I take to get ready for the show, I'm usually thinking about the jokes that I want to do. If I've written something new, I really kind of take the time I leave my house to the time I get to the venue is kind of like, this sounds so cheesy, kind of like a moving meditation. Like I'm kind of getting in the zone. Sometimes I like to listen to music. Sometimes I listen to old sets. I just kind of get into my own head to prepare myself. Because at the gig, usually if there's other comics there, I'm talking to people backstage. So I'm not really alone. So it's kind of my alone time of kind of how I, hype myself up or,
it's like how you get hyper focused to get into that flow state.
Flow to think, and then sometimes I read the text of the jokes that I want to do. It just depends on like how much I've been performing. And then basically it's kind of, that's what I like to do. And I like to write to the very last minute. So if I'm doing a joke, I always have my notebook out. I also have been writing more like on my phone, but I do both. And I'll rewrite and kind of think about things that I want to say on stage to the very last minute. And then and then I go up and then see crazy. What works and what doesn't. It depends on, the show. If it's kind of more of like an open mic, then I usually keep it really loose. I like to improvise on stage. I like to write on stage, meaning I'll have ideas. I don't have things word for word. If it's, a more professional type gig, then I usually know my set. I know how much time I'm going to do. I know what jokes I'm going to say, but I always am thinking about it and tweaking it. And then afterwards I'm like,
yeah, it must be such an adrenaline rush. And do you feel like you're kind of riding the energy of your spectators, like reacting to how they're reacting?
Definitely. It's a dance between the audience and the comedian. So I need to come on stage and I need to bring a certain energy, especially, I'm watching the show, I'm watching the host, I'm watching the other comics go up. I'm trying to evaluate what's happening in the room, what's already happened. Like maybe some weird drunk person has come in a couple times and yelled, like, am I going to address that? Or, especially like the host before they bring me up, have they made any comment about me or have they made a joke that I want to do a callback to? So I'm really listening of what's the vibe in the room. And that's how I'm going to approach it. So if I see an audience with low energy, I need to sometimes I go into crowd work to talk to them, see what's going on, build up the energy. You have to change your strategy constantly. I mean, they say you need to learn how to read the room. What is happening out there? You can't just go on stage, tell the jokes you have prepared and get off stage. It doesn't work like that. And sometimes you can have these so you've got to be flexible and be willing to change directions, especially if things aren't working. I did a show in Amsterdam and I was doing my set and it wasn't going very well. So I threw that out, started talking to the audience and had some fun crowd work moments. And the crowd work went better than the actual prepared material. So sometimes you just have to be willing to throw things out, which is annoying if you want to work on material sometimes. So it really depends. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
It does answer my question in a lot of different ways. And I want to talk a little bit about that because you travel around the world doing comedy. I saw you've been everywhere. It's really interesting. And normally when you're in these different countries, is it the local expats coming? Is it the locals coming? Or, I mean, culturally, I would feel like things are funny and they're not funny. Are you always thinking about that? When you go to Amsterdam or you think what's funny in Holland?
Yeah.
Things like that?
I mean, so it's really a challenge to perform in another country because of all the same challenges I have here. You're speaking English, not the native language. So you've got people, there might be different varying levels of English. So you're not sure how much they understand. And of course, the culture, I don't know anything about Dutch culture. So it's been, it's been a learning experience for me every time I go somewhere and I perform and I learned about it. That Amsterdam show, that was a hard show. I was like, ooh, I don't know about Holland, man. Then I performed at The Hague the next night, and I had 2 shows at The Hague, and they went super, super well. So sometimes it's even mysterious to us, the performers, knowing what exactly what
Yeah,
I
what's
call it
gonna
the comedy
happen?
gods. I'm like, the comedy gods giveth and the comedy gods take awayeth. So you go on
Oh,
stage and you kill and you have this amazing, 10-minute set and the audience is loving you. And then the next night you go on stage and you do the same set and you could be bombing on your ass and no one laughing at you. And that is just what stand-up comedy is. It's always a surprise. More consistent.
you
Yeah,
just
you
don't.
don't know. The longer I do it, the more consistently
Yeah.
on the good side things are, but yeah, you need to really like pain and to be beaten down. Yeah, you need to be a masochist. You're like, okay, that was very painful. Let me go do that again.
Do you still connect like your funniness to you as a person? Because I feel like artists struggle with that a lot. Like, oh, they don't like my painting, I suck. Like, my whole personality is crap. Like, are you able, because you've been doing it long enough, that you're like, okay, that wasn't funny, but whatever, moving on? Or do you still take it very
I
personal?
do think I take it personally because it's me on stage and I'm talking about the way that I do my comedy. I'm talking about my life, my feelings, my opinions. So I'm just like, oh my God, like, yeah, I do take it personally. But I think as I get older, I realize like not every audience for you is for you. Not every person is going to like what you do, just like not every person's going to like you. So if someone says to me, you're not funny, I'm just like, okay, you don't like what I do.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Don't buy a ticket.
Right.
That's fine.
Or like, thank you for buying the ticket. Now get the fuck out of my theater. Like, I don't know. Like,
never need to see you again.
The only time it hurts is when I know I haven't done a good job or I feel like I really did do bad. And then even then I'm just like, well, they're not wrong. So I'm like, well, if you're right. Yeah, that sucked. But
do you still get nervous going on stage?
Every single time. Yeah.
Every single time.
It's how you manage the nerves and use them. Performing in French, I was like scared shitless, like every.
I would be too. Yeah, that sounds
because I literally didn't know. That was Russian roulette. I literally would have no idea how it's going to go. Now I can kind of tell, based off the audience and my set and kind of where I'm at mentally. I can basically hold the reins. I can keep things going. Okay. I have those skills now. But in French, it's like when you start doing comedy, you just don't have the skills. So you don't know what you're doing. And it's really scary. But yeah, I get nervous. I mean, I want to do good. So I care. And I love the quote by Sarah Bernhardt about le trac. Have you heard this? In French, le trac is like stage fright. And apparently she says, Sarah Bernhardt, who is a famous actress, like 19th century French actress, says,
it was wild. We talked about her on the podcast. She's super crazy. She slept in the closet.
She says, oh, don't worry. She talks to the legend has it. She talks to a young artist. She asks if they have le trac. And they said no. And she's like, don't worry. It comes with talent. So and I love this quote because it's like, if you're not nervous, then you don't care. And if you don't care, you're not going to do good. You should be a little nervous. I'm not saying I don't have stage fright. I'm not like, but you need to have that energy, that you're taking a risk. You're putting something on the line.
Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, I've done like over thousands of photo shoots and I still get a little like, am I going to do a good job? Are they going to like the photos? Like, it's completely relatable, I think, for so many artists. That's what we ride. Like you said, that's what puts us in our hyper focus. That's the flow, is just taking that energy and like putting it out in a good way. And then you start,
I start doing my set. I see how it's going. I'm like, okay, then I get comfortable. Then we're having fun. Now I'm like, okay, now we're good. Yeah. But it's that unknown.
Yeah. Yeah, it's scary. And what is your most memorable moment from all the things you've done? Is there something that really like was like a wow moment or like, oh wow, I'm so embarrassed moment? Like, do you have a most memorable time on stage?
Well, I think definitely opening for Gad Elmaleh was a huge moment. And I opened for him on a few dates of his European tour. the European leg of his world tour, the Dream Tour he did in 2018. And I opened the first show of the tour for him in Antwerp.
Oh, wow.
And I just remember standing backstage and being like, okay, you know what you're doing. You can do this. I was very nervous. It was in front of 500 or 600 people. And it was, it's for Gad. So I want, I had other dates with him, but I wanted to do good. This is a very famous comedian. And I just remember going backstage and just being like, okay, just remember this moment. Like, just take it all in. Just try to enjoy it. Don't let the nerves and like the focus of doing the job get in the way. And so that's some advice that I got from, not I got, but what's his name? He hosts a podcast called The Comics Comic. And he says that before he's about to do anything really big, he always kind of stops and he's like, he stops and he's like, just take it in and remember it for the moment, because, these are the things you're going to remember when you're older, 10, 20, 30 years from now. You're going to look back and be like, wow, I can't believe I did that. So that was a big moment.
Yeah. That's huge. And how did you make these connections? Like, how did you end up working with him? Like, you're just this American mom coming over, like what happened? How did you?
Well, I have been doing stand-up since I arrived in Paris. When I came, there was one weekly show in English that Sebastian Marks hosted called the New York Comedy Night, still going on in theory when we can reopen. And then I started performing. I started hosting a show with a guy named Rob Hain at the Pan Am Art Cafe. Pan Am is a hotspot for French comedy. And so I was just, chugging along, doing shows, adding more shows, getting mics, running my own show, then creating my own stand-up show. And, as I passed through the Pan Am, the owner and, the creative director, they know me. And, people said, Gad's manager, he passed through the club. Like, they're always kind of looking to see who's out and about. And, if you're doing it enough and I'm around and I'm making all these shows, his manager at least knew who I was. And I can't even remember how, but, they're, just networking and being out there and performing. Normally I was performing, 3-4 times a week. It really depends. So I was getting out there. You just have to get out there. It's your workout room. That's why I always say, like, doing the open mics. That's how I stay fit and ready for the big shows.
Oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. As, like you said, it's your workout for the bigger stuff. You're flexing your brain and your comedy. And one of the major subjects of your shows is your family life, because you're married to a Frenchman. You have French American children. So is there anything that's off limits with talking about them, or is it like, whatever, I'm just going to throw it out there, whatever's funny in that moment?
It's funny because I do talk about like my husband and my kids on stage, but from obviously my perspective as like a mother, as a wife, as a woman, and my husband is pretty private. So, and we do also want to respect the privacy of our children. So like, I don't have my kids on Facebook or Instagram. I don't share photos of them. I rarely show photos of him because he doesn't like it. So I just try to be respectful of their privacy. So in a sense, like, nothing's off limits, but I kind of know how intimate I want to get in my storytelling. So I talk, when I talk about my kids and stuff on stage, it's all true. It's all coming from a real place, but I do it in a way where it wouldn't, I don't know how to say it. I feel, exactly. Like, they're not the butt of the joke. They're not the punchline per se. Or if they are, it's more of this generic them as like a child or a French child or a French husband, but not actually him and them.
Yeah, I like that. It can be applied globally across cultural differences. That makes sense. And what generally is funny across all cultures? Like, are there certain topics that everyone's going to laugh at? Is like, I can just pull that out of my hat.
I don't know if there are topics that are funny across all cultures, but I think it's kind of the feelings. Like, what feelings are you conveying? Like, we've all felt like a loser. We've all felt embarrassed. We've all well, maybe not all, but a lot of us have had our heart broken, these kind of
You just summed up my life in France.
exactly. So even if you can't relate to maybe the exact situation, I think it's these feelings. Like that's what humanity is. Like what all connects us. It's like we've all been in love. We've all, done something we've regretted. So it's like, what is the core of like each story you're telling, And I think this is why we can appreciate comedy from so many different perspectives. Like, I can't think of a good example right off the top of my head, but you don't have to be listening to a comic and say like, oh yeah, like I've definitely done that. Of course, sometimes you do, and that's really funny, but sometimes you're like, oh my God, that's so crazy. That's so embarrassing. I was, that feeling. So it's.
Yeah. I think I read once that things are funny when they're so untrue or when they're so true. So there's like that two sides of the spectrum, which kind of sounds like with emotions, like we can be like, well, that was really true about love, or that was really
I'd like
true
to say
about
that my show Becoming Maman, which is about having French kids in Paris when you're not French, it's not so much about, it is about becoming a mom, but it's also about that gray space we hold as expats where it's like you don't really know where you fit in. Like I'm not it's like I'm raising my kids in France. Like I don't know what it's like to be an American mom because I'm American, but I'm not raising my kids in the US. So I'm raising them in French. So I'm learning the French way, but I'm not really French either. So it's like, where am I? And like I'm doing it wrong on both sides, but I can also choose what I want to do from both sides. It's kind of that's what that show is about. And people would come by accident who didn't have kids. They'd be like, oh, this show is about having kids. But we'd always get really positive feedback. People like the show. They could relate to us wading through this big life moment and messing it up and not doing everything perfectly and making fun of ourselves. And I think people like that. And I dance in that show too. So people like that too.
I'm coming to that show. Once we're allowed to leave our houses again, I'll definitely be there. So talk a little bit about how you define creativity. Like what is creativity to you?
You have such good questions, by the way. These are really interesting. What is creativity to me? Creativity, it's a feeling. That was my initial response. I'm like, it's a feeling that you have. It's wanting to, I don't know, you get curious about something and you want to make something. You have an idea and you're like, okay, well, let's see how I can bring this to life. Or I don't know. That's such a good question. But that's kind of how I feel. Like when I feel like I want to create something, whether it's like a video or a joke or I don't know, it's something that kind of it clicks in your head. Something kind of starts bugging you. It's like, hey, what about this idea?
Yeah, they call it the creative whispers. Like where it keeps coming back and he's coming back being like, hey, work on this. And then I've also read that when you don't take it up, it goes to someone else's mind and then they can make it come to fruition, like we have to jump on things.
Okay. Well, that's good and scary. I'm like, no.
So if you have an idea, get to it, people, because someone else will take it. And it's not stealing, it just, they moved on.
Interesting.
The energy is moved on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I love reading about this stuff. And so what advice do you have for people who are searching for their creative talents? Like maybe they think they're not good at anything in that aspect. What should they do, or what would you say?
I would give advice that I wish I had taken myself, which is just start doing it. Don't wait for it to be good or perfect. Like that's part of becoming whatever it is. Like you just have to start somewhere. Don't let this idea that, oh, well, I don't have enough experience or I don't really know what I'm doing. No one knows what they're doing. When they first start, no one knows what they're doing. Just start doing it and learn along the way and discover. And like, that's part of the process. Like you don't become, really successful. And everyone says this, and I don't know why this didn't click until, recently for me, but it's like, yeah, you have to make those mistakes. That is how you learn. So don't wait until you have the perfect setup to make your podcast or to make your videos. Just start doing it. And then you're going to learn along the way and you're going to improve. And like, don't compare yourself to the professionally produced thing, whatever that is. Like, there's a whole team and tons of money behind it. Like, just start making it and understand that that is part of the process.
Yeah, no, that's great advice, because I think we all get stuck in our heads with this stuff. And it's so funny because as children, we can learn so much from children about creativity because they just do it. They're like, yeah, I'm a magician.
Yes.
Here's a hat, like I'm making magic now. But somehow as we grow older, that gets beaten out of us. And then we have to kind of relearn how to be adventurous and how to try new things. And it's really sad. It's like you have to like build it up again.
I wanted to do comedy, because I had spent my whole life on stage, dancing, plays, music, singing, choir, whatever. And then I went to college and I was doing that still. And then I graduated. It's like, okay, now I'm in the real world. Now it's time for the serious job. And I kind of had this moment. I'm like, why do I have to stop creating? Why do I have to stop making? Like, I love performing. I've literally done it my entire life. Why am I not doing it right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You felt like you had to like grow up and get a real job. But why can that not be your real job? Or
not even my real job at the time, but just thinking like, why do I have to not do this anymore just because of XYZ? Like, so yeah. And that's why I like comedy, is because you make your own stage. Like, you write it yourself. Like, I don't have to audition and go be part of someone else's play. It's like, I write the text, I find the show. And if they don't want to put me up, I'll make my own show and I'll start my own mic. So I really like that with comedy. You don't need anyone else to make it happen. Like, you can make it happen.
Yeah. You don't need permission. You don't need a team to like go back and forth with. It's all in your pocket, whatever they say. And are there any projects that are coming up that you'd like to share with the audience, or you want people to know about, or you're working on?
So I've been making videos with my writing partner, Amber Minogue, on our YouTube channel, which is called Amber and Sarah. Voila. Very easy to remember. We've been doing Emily in Paris reaction videos. We're a bit behind, but it's basically just us talking about the show, but also just sharing our experiences of what's happened to us in Paris along the way. And we'll be putting out more videos. Obviously, when Emily in Paris comes back, we'll do those, but we have some other things up our sleeve. So make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel or on my Instagram, because I'm always posting when I'm doing comedy gigs and one-offs. And I collaborate a lot with Paul Taylor, who's also English. Amber's English. I didn't mention it, but I'm like, I only work with English people these days. I don't know why. Yeah, we have a show on Audible called God Save My English, and it's to teach French people English, but in a funny way, not a traditional classroom way. So that's been really fun to make with him. So those are like my two main projects right now. So you got to follow me. And then, maybe you'll see me dance. Maybe I'll just come through with another TikTok or something.
Sure hope so. Get on there. And what is the Instagram handle
Sarah
that people
D
can find
Comedy.
you on?
SARAHD Comedy. Voila.
Perfect. I'll put all that in the show notes as well, but just in case people are listening and want to go look at it, they can now. Thank you so much for chatting with me today, Sarah. I really enjoyed this.
I love talking to you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.